Hello, everybody. My name is Levi Powell, and I want to welcome you to the first episode of Random Sports Fan Forum. On this channel, we're going to talk about sports. I'm going to have guests on. This week, my guest had to cancel due to things out of their control, so I'm just going solo for the first episode. We're going to go over the what happened in the NFL this week. We're going to go over some coaching things like who should be fired, who's Coach of the Year candidates, and we're also going to go over how great the backup quarterback play has been. The first team I want to start with is the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to start with the NFC first. The Cowboys, this was their chance to get ahead of the Eagles. They were not successful. The Buffalo Bills came in that game. They were physical. They were determined, and they played to win. I want to say congratulations to Buffalo first off. They completely dominated the game. As for the Cowboys kind of just never got back going after the first half. They conceded 21 points to the Buffalo Bills on drives where Dallas extended that drive due to penalties, and they just never recovered from that. It's like they got deflated by the penalties, and in the second half, they just didn't want to be there. It was cold. It was raining. They'd already clinched a playoff spot a couple of hours before. They just looked like they really didn't want to be there, which is not something you want to see this late in the season. Do I think they're frauds? No. Do I think they're still contenders? Yes, but I'd like to see more out of them against Miami this week after that game. Dak Prescott had a pretty bad game. CeeDee Lamb had a pretty good game. Jake Ferguson. The defense kind of got ran all over, though, but like I said, it was a situation in which Buffalo was forced to run the ball a lot. Going on to now the Philadelphia Eagles and the Seattle Seahawks. Congratulations to the Seahawks. Drew Lock just played a great game. I mean, it's probably the game of his life. On to the Philadelphia Eagles, though. They are in a tailspin. They are currently in trouble. Their defense is having trouble stopping just about anybody the last 3 weeks. They haven't scored 20 in 3 straight weeks, and this is a 3-game losing streak that is at a very bad time in the season. You do not want to see your team getting beat like this late in the season. You would think that all of the kinks would be out by now, but they're not. Philadelphia even made a coaching change, and it didn't seem to work. I mean, they got rid of their defensive coordinator. They hit the panic button. Matt Patricia took over and allowed Drew Lock to have a 92-yard, 2-minute drive to win the game. Jalen Hurts played awful in this game as well. 2 interceptions. I really don't know what's going on with him, but he just hasn't been himself the last couple of weeks. If Philadelphia doesn't get this figured out soon, they're going to be last year's Minnesota Vikings. I mean, they only have a plus 18-point differential, and they're 10-4. That should be alarming to Philadelphia. Next, we're going to go into San Francisco. There's nothing really to say about San Francisco. They beat down the Cardinals. They're the obvious number 1 seed, and the playoffs are going through San Francisco. The Detroit Lions are up next. They're really the only other contender left in the NFC, and they got back to their winning ways. They blew out the Denver Broncos, and all those losses they've had recently just got washed away in this game. I mean, they just come out. They played a great game. Sam Laporta is a hit in the draft. Jared Goff's playing really well. They play extremely well in a dome. I mean, the rest of their games are indoors, so they should have a good rest of their season. Now we move on to the AFC. We have the Miami Dolphins versus the New York Jets. The Dolphins really bounced back after that loss against the Tennessee Titans. That was a game was not sure that they could bounce back after that loss that they had. That was bad. It was just a bad loss. But they come out, they score 30 on the Jets and a really good defense. The Baltimore Ravens beat down the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I believe are now on a 4-game losing streak. They've got to get it figured out. They might get caught by either the Colts or the Texans for that division lead. As for the Ravens, it's looking like the AFC Championship is going to go through Baltimore or Miami. The Baltimore Ravens continue to impress, even though they continue to lose running backs. I've never seen a team lose so many running backs as the Ravens have the last few years, and they just continue to win. Moving on to Coach of the Year candidates. Right now, for me, it's either Shane Steichen or it's either Shane Steichen, Dan Campbell, Mike McDaniel, or D'Amico Ryan. Those are the four in the running right now. And if anything, I would give it to Steichen or Ryan, as they're winning games with teams that weren't very good last year. Shane Steichen has the Colts currently in the playoffs with Gardner Minshew, a backup quarterback, and a team that did not do very well last season. D'Amico Ryan has the Houston Texans at 7-7, and C.J. Stroud looks to be their guy. I know Case Keenum played this week and they won, but all credit to D'Amico Ryan. They took a team that had the second pick in the draft last year, and they're in playoff contention this year. That is some coach of the year candidate kind of stuff right there. Now we're going on to coaches in the hot seat. And we have Brandon Staley was finally fired. He should have been fired earlier this season, even last year. I don't know where the Chargers are going to go from now. They definitely need an offensive head coach, though. Ron Rivera is on his way out in Washington. Any of the NFC South coaches could be on the hot seat. I mean, Frank Reich has already been fired. I mean, Todd Bowles, I think they'll give him another year, but Dennis Allen and Arthur Smith are in trouble. The Falcons should be better than what they are, and the Saints are the only team in the division with a positive point differential, yet they're 7-7. I mean, if you had a better coach, you would be in good shape. Robert Saleh in New York, I do believe, might be in trouble, but I think he's earned another year. He really is a great coach. He's a great defensive coach, and I think they should give him another year. If he is fired, he will be someone's defensive coordinator within 24 hours. Those are really the coaches, I think, right now that kind of are in trouble, but only time will tell. Backup quarterback play in the NFL has been the best it's ever been this season. We have had a slew of backup quarterbacks that have come in won games. Just to name a few off the top of my head, we have Tyson Bagent, P.J. Walker, Joe Flacco. That's just to name a few. I mean, we have Case Keenum is in there. Josh Dobbs won with multiple teams. We had Jake Browning, who's 4-0 with the Bengals. I mean, there really right now is no excuse to not be or to not have a quarterback in the NFL. There really isn't. The backup quarterback play has been the best as it's ever been. These backups are coming in and winning games like crazy. In fact, Gardner Minshew has the Colts in playoff position. Like I said, Jake Browning has the Bengals in playoff position. We have whoever started for the Vikings has them in position. It's been a really interesting year for backup quarterbacks, and it just shows how important the position actually is to the NFL. If you have a good backup and your starter goes down, you can still make some noise, and I like that. We have an abundance of quarterback play in the NFL, and I think that it's great.